Coffee and Headlines is brought to you by the generous support of our viewers and the following community partners: Best Cord Cutting TV, Bravo's Restaurant Bar, Joint Boutique Hotel and Cowork, Puerto Vallarta Neurofeedback, Puerto Vallarta Owners Reps, Oculto, and Siam Cocina Time. Thank you for your support, and thank you for supporting our community partners. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Coffee and Headlines, and welcome back to Broadcasting from Home. I think the technician came, the technician left. Everything seems to be looking good. I may still have to tinker some settings to make sure that everything looks and sounds the way it's supposed to. But my goodness, what a horrible 20 days this has been. And I say that with certain pause, because while it's been horrible that I have not been able to work from home, I have been so fortunate to have kind friends, and of course to have Eric and all the staff at the Joint Boutique Hotel and Cowork holding me and supporting me and giving me a space to work. I am so grateful for that. Luna is sitting here. Yes, I'm talking about you. You want to come up and say hi? Luna is here kind of thinking, okay, so where have you been? Why have we not been doing this? And she's like thinking, you're holding me in a strange position. Okay, you can go back to your little perch. So I will get back to normal, I suppose. The nice lady that came to work on my phone line told me that the connection between my house and their box, their distribution box 1 block away, was fine. But then, but she couldn't find a line back to their office, so that she went to their office, which is not between my house and La Comer. And somebody or somehow my line was disconnected there. When I tried to ask, how does this happen? She essentially just said, shit happens. And, what can you say? It's certainly not this woman's fault. We had a nice conversation about how they are very understaffed. People are not looking for jobs with Telmex. So she understands the frustration of the clientele. I continue to feel that while Telmex works fine when it's working, it is unfortunate that the leader in telecommunications company in Mexico has allowed their customer service to deteriorate the way it has. So we're gonna end this chapter with that. I'm grateful to be home, particularly with the weekend here. Yes, now we can finally say, thank God it's Friday and all my buttons are back to where I can actually reach my controls comfortably. So let's get on with today's broadcast, shall we? And we start with this bit of news. If you wish to rent an apartment in the city with the highest rents in all of Latin America, we have news for you. You don't have to leave Puerto Vallarta, because according to a new report, Puerto Vallarta has the most expensive apartment monthly rentals in all of Latin America. Tómala. This came from a study made by a company called Numbeo, I hope I'm pronouncing that properly, where it was determined that the average monthly rent for an apartment in Puerto Vallarta is $1,095.79. Now, how did it come to that? That is an excellent question for which I don't have an answer. Other cities mentioned in the study, as in very expensive cities, include Panama City, San Jose in Costa Rica, and in Mexico, Guadalajara and Querétaro. So the so-called friendliest city in the world is also the most expensive when it comes to renting an apartment. Please keep that in mind should you be thinking of relocating here. Now, this photo is showing the intersection of Las Americas Avenue and Francisco Medina Ascencio. This is right across from the Sheraton Hotel. The intersection is now closed to vehicular traffic due to the improvements being made along Medina Ascencio's northbound lateral road, which, as you well know, has been under construction for a few months. So you may want to keep this in mind if you use this intersection on a regular basis. And this was interesting to read. The unpleasant debate on tipping has been reopened thanks to this waiter from the state of Nayarit making national headlines. According to his social media post on TikTok, he was waiting on a table and the total bill came to 1,200 pesos. Now, 20% of that amount would have been 240 pesos tip. 15% of that would have been 180 peso tip. But the tip he received was 36 pesos. Now, we don't know if he received such a low tip because his service was questionable or whether the people just didn't have enough money or they were clueless. All that we know is that he returned to the tip to the patron saying, "I don't want your measly tip." And he argued on his rant that if they could afford a 1,200 peso meal, surely they could be able to afford a higher tip. Now, this opens up a big question, and the question is, let me just set this up properly. Hold on just a second. The question here would be, are restaurants paying enough salaries such that waiters should be able to make a living without factoring tips, or are restaurants underpaying their staff with the expectation that they're going to work for tips? I don't have an answer for that because I'm not in the restaurant business, but I sure hope that when you go get a job as a waiter in a restaurant, that you get paid enough to make a living, and the tips are just a bonus that you get because you gave a good service. Let us remember that tipping in Mexico is not mandatory. So there's not a law that says that you have to tip. Many restaurants will include the tip in their bill, and they won't tell you about it. So one has to always be mindful of this. But again, it is an unpleasant debate, one that ultimately has as much to do with our tipping culture as consumers, and it has a lot to do with how restaurant owners manage their salaries. So we cannot have control over that part. That's up to the restaurants. And if there are any restaurant owners watching, I would love to read your comments as to whether you pay your employees a decent salary or whether you are expecting your employees to complement your not so decent salary with the tips that they don't even know they're going to make. How much do you tip in Mexico? Most people tip around 15%. I always tip 20% just because I feel that's what I can afford and that's what I want to contribute with. Unless, of course, the service was questionable. You let me know what you think about all of this. And now it is time to look at the weather. Let's do that. And we'll go directly to the weather. And Snarky Weatherman says, to avoid lightning strikes, just hide under a tree. I'm not so sure about that, but that deserves one of these. It's so nice to have control of my sound effects again. It is 31 degrees out there right now. Humidity is at 76%. And our weather forecast for today. Sorry, my bad. I didn't mean to do that. Our weather forecast for today says we're going to have rain in the morning with thunderstorms in the afternoon, a chance of rain of 55%, a high of 31, and a low of 25. Then tomorrow, Saturday, mostly cloudy skies in the morning with thunderstorms in the afternoon, with a chance of rain of 58%, a high of 32, and a low of 24. Finally, Sunday, we wrap up the week with mostly clear skies in the morning with thunderstorms in the afternoon, a chance of rain of 79%, a high of 32, and a low of 24. So, this is what we have. But before we get into our comment section, I want to tell you a little bit of my afternoon yesterday. You know, it is so nice to have good friends around to take your burdens away, at least for a while. And I want to express my gratitude to my dear friends Chris and Brian, who were with whom I had made some plans. Actually, even before I tell you what happened yesterday afternoon, I'll tell you briefly this morning's anecdote, because somebody must be protecting me from above. Because yesterday I went out and played with Brian and Chris, and because I received a notification that Telmex would take care of my service this afternoon, I did not want to be far from home, so they said to me, well, do you want to broadcast from our apartment? We have strong internet. And I said, yes. So this morning, I was heading to their apartment, and by chance, I happened to spot the Telmex truck parked like half a block away. And I talked to the lady that was sitting in the car, and I said to her, by any chance you're not here to take care of my service? And I gave her my name. And she says to me, yes, I am. As a matter of fact, I've been trying to call you, and the call is not going through. So I have a mystery to solve during the rest of the day as to why my phone is not ringing. And suffice to say that if I had not been walking to Brian and Chris's apartment this morning at the same time that the lady technician was parked along the way, I might still be without telephone service. So there's somebody protecting me, and I am grateful for that. Anyhow, I am grateful for Brian and Chris as well, because yesterday afternoon we decided we would go to El Rey Lounge de Versalles to check out their Gay Thursday, or their Thursgay. And we sat there and saw other gay people there, so we were happy to represent and had a great time. Talked to owners Lorenzo and Rihanna for a little while. And then after that, we were coming home and we were feeling hungry, and they suggested a place that I haven't tried yet, or that I hadn't tried yet, which is called Barbacoa. And Barbacoa is right at the corner of Vienna and Aldanaca Street, or if Aldanaca Street dead ends onto Vienna Street, and that is where this place is located. You may recognize it because it has had other names, and what this place specializes on presently is barbacoa, or barbecue. Now, barbacoa in Mexico is a primitive cooking method consisting of cooking food, in this case meat, in a hole on the ground. The meat is wrapped with cactus leaves and allowed to slow cook. Barbacoa can also refer to meat that has been cooked by steaming until it is tender. It is worth mentioning that there are significant regional and national variations to this. So barbecued meat cooked in the United States or Canada may taste differently or may be handled differently. But here in Mexico, this is how we make barbecue meat. And we got to the restaurant and they have a choice of barbecue beef, and they have a choice of pork, rind, tacos, all kinds of different things, different meat cuts as well, and quesadillas. But the piece de resistance is their barbecue tacos, which you can see on the left. Let me get my pointer. See my pointer. Where is my pointer? Here you go. Okay, so this would be the barbecue taco. And as you can see, it is served on a blue corn tortilla that is prepared in the house. This is the pork chicharrón taco. And as you can see, they are big, sizable tacos. I mean, you can barely fold them. And then this thing in the middle is a cheese crust taco. You can see one being prepared here. So hold on to your cholesterol. If you're watching your cholesterol, these things pack a bomb, and they are absolutely delicious. Now, if you take a look at these tacos, you're going to say to yourselves, well, this is just meat in a tortilla. What's the big deal? Well, that is when the salsas that are presented to you make all the difference. And here we were presented with 8 different salsas to enhance the flavor of our tacos with, which ranged from mildly spicy to very spicy. And all I'm going to say is that the dining experience at this place is both heavenly and extremely affordable. It was an absolute wonderful find, which is 2 blocks away from my house. I didn't take more photos of our meals because we were so hungry. So I borrowed these photos from their Facebook page, and it was absolutely divine. So if you are looking for another taco place that is affordable and absolutely wonderful in Colonia Versalles, I cannot recommend this place more than I already have. It is absolutely scrumptious. Check it out when you can. And now let us take a look at your comments. Oh, it's so nice to be home. It's so nice to broadcast from home. I'm going to take the rest of the afternoon off for the record. Karen says, yay, you are here, and so am I. Thank you for watching, Karen. I know this is not our usual time of day, but I appreciate that. Chris says, bring on Luna for a quick interview. We did that. Let's see what else we have. Thank you for your kind remark, Laura. I don't know about outstanding, but, keeping the Coffee and Headlines community connected is my top priority, and I'm so grateful that it is finally happening again from home. Chris says, will you be getting muffins and coffee delivered now? Well, I already have my coffee, and I'm a little hungry, so I'm probably going to get ready for lunch right after this one. Let's see what else. Laura says, I think Telmex should send coffee and muffins. Telmex is going to get a phone call from me, and I'm going to ask for a refund for the last 20 days of lack of service. And that is the least they can do. Tipping should be according to service and should never be insulting. Well, I have been in situations in which the quality of service has been so insulting that I have left an insulting tip behind. But again, you put out good service, you get good tips. I don't know why this particular fellow did not get a good tip in this instance. Geraint adds some perspective. The subject of tipping has become a hot topic in Canada and the USA as well. That is unfortunate. And again, I wonder, Geraint, if this has something to do with salaries, because if workers are getting well paid by their restaurants, then the tips are just an icing on the cake, or at least that would be my very general naive understanding as a consumer. Let's see. Boom, 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 boom. And I don't see any other comments. So we're going to wrap things up with this. And I am going to once again thank you for your patience during the past week. It's been quite a circus, but I'm happy to see that things seem to be on the mend. Needless to say, we'll be back here tomorrow morning because we have one more broadcast day. and I'm going to keep an eye on everything, making sure that we are indeed back to normal. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for your empathy, and I hope you'll have a great Friday, and I'll see you again tomorrow morning.